Right, the consequences that men will face if they continue accepting a life of low personal standards. Now, we can make up, some pretty noble excuses as we progress through lives. Marriages, buying a house, buying our first car, family, wife, kids, job progression, how we spend our spare time. Our priority can veer off into a lot of different directions, especially as we start to get into about the age of 30, mid-30s, into the age of 40 plus. This starts to become more of a problem as the layers of your belief systems so willingly accept this as your new reality. And I'm here in this video to really shine a light on this doesn't have to be your reality at all, right? And I just want you, the common theme of this video is I really want you thinking, every time I say something on a slide, I want you to think, every time you prioritize someone or something other than yourself, you neglect yourself. So everything has a cost. And the main thing I want you to think about beyond that is, what is your purpose? Is it to serve or is it to lead? Now, I have no doubt in certain areas of your life, it might be to lead. And in other areas of your life, you are happy to serve. The problem is once you become comfortable and once you fully accept that serving, is easier, that same mentality starts to affect other areas of your life. And you become comfortable. And you start to become repulsed by the idea of leading, by the idea of growth, by the idea of development. So, what I'm going to be talking about in this video, it's pretty straightforward, right? But I'm going to do it in my own way. And if you're new to the channel, then you will see this is kind of a common theme on most of my videos. I'm really bringing the mindset stuff home because it's not just about tactics and how we can counteract these with certain, hacks. No, it's not. It's just usually us thinking a little bit differently, more frequently, to have the maximum effect, right? So I'm going to be covering today how you spend your time, how you spend your spare time, what do you do, family being a big one. Basically, these three things and work are the most common excuses men have for not developing themselves after a certain point of their life. They could be 20-year-old and say, I haven't got the time. They could be 40-year-old and say, I haven't got the time because of family. They could be 30-year-old and say, I haven't got the time because of work. The problem isn't the thing. It's not the thing. It's your mindset towards neglecting yourself so willingly. And that's what we'll be talking about. So, as I go through this video, I just want you to remember this. How easy is it to fall into this trap? How easy is it to surrender your personal standards? And what I mean by personal standards is the standards in which you set, in which you cannot disobey every single day. The self-respect you have, the confidence you have, the optimism you have with regards to the future. If you don't have any personal standards, then you're proving me right just by not having any personal standards. And what I mean by it's so easy, it's because you've been prioritizing other people at the cost of yourself. And this video is all about giving you that spark, giving you that fire back to start really looking at yourself with confidence to develop yourself. Because by you doing that, by increasing your personal standards, the byproduct of that is you are viewed differently in the eyes of others, and your actions will influence others instead of you scampering around with words and making people feel better with words. Just show them and they will follow suit. So, time, family and work, three of the most common excuses. I'm going to make myself a little bit bigger, right? For those that are new to the channel, right, my name is Paul Green. I'm a former British paratrooper, Special Forces Support Group operator. Trained thousands of elite soldiers over the past 12 years, and now I train predominantly men on my longevity program. For the most part, they are grapplers. Get people that are injured, injury prone, but we just take their current situation as a means and as a catalyst to increase their mindset, increase their character, and increase their personal standards. Yes, the tactics of injury rehab, strengthening the joints, improving the resilience of the joints are all great. The tactics, right? They are great. However, the most important part of it and the meat and potatoes is the mindset that starts on their program. I'm also a purple belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and I've got 7 years of grappling experience. And, you know, these are all injuries that I've worked with over the past few months. So, one thing that I like to talk about quite a lot is the 1.0 mindset. It's the mindset of the survival part of the brain. I like to call this the creature mindset, because I would like to really emphasize just how potent and horrible it is for your development as a man. The 1.0 mindset is victim mindset, completely surrendered their own personal standards, and they don't live by their own personal standards. They live by other people's personal standards. Constantly prioritizing others at the neglect of themselves, and they just see it as the way it is. This is just what it's like to be a father. This is just what it's like to be a family man. This is just what it's like to be a businessman. Instead of going, hold on a minute, am I really willing to just neglect myself for the rest of my life? What is the cost of neglecting myself for the rest of my life? One thing that I've noticed is that people that try and snap out of this feel guilty for prioritizing themselves. So there's now an extra social layer for getting a gym membership, feeling guilty for wanting to develop your health, your strength, because you've spent so much time prioritizing others. When you go to prioritize yourself, you feel like people are going to be disgusted for you actually doing that, which again adds another layer of complexity to this. But this is what I call the 1.0 mindset, the creature mindset. The creature feels guilty. It's not you. You don't feel guilty for wanting to develop yourself. But the part of your brain that is responsible for your survival, we don't live in the caves anymore. We live in a nice warm house with food in the cupboards. We have hot water. We don't need that part of the brain as much as we think we do. But you are still letting the survival part of the brain govern how you live your lives. And what happens is you have accepted extremely low personal standards, and you tolerate low personal standards. Not just today, not just for the last few months, but for the last probably multiple decades, right? And essentially, what it is you are literally living in survival mode, right? And again, how easy is it to fall into this? Especially with family, social pressures. And more on this, the creature, and how it can infiltrate certain areas of your life. Calorie-dense foods, not nutrient-dense foods, because maximum hormones are the priority, not maximum benefit. Remember, the creature is not interested in benefit. They're interested in hormones now. They're not interested in how it's going to benefit you in 2 weeks' time or benefit you tomorrow. Just interested in now. I need to survive. And just think, every little decision you make, hundreds of decisions you make in the day, is feeding the beast. Not just a creature, a fucking beast. After years and years of this. So trying to pull yourself out of this cesspit, it becomes really difficult. However, I would argue that it's a lot more simple than you may think, if you get it right. The creature hates training. They haven't got the time. It's too hard. When they need a break, they sit on the sofa and get their phone out and start looking at social media videos that they can't remember, you know, what they've done, what they've watched, what they've learned. Everything is all about maximum dopamine, and every effort that they make in their life is all low effort decisions. Quick. ordering food on Uber Eats, Deliveroo, and anything beneficial to your future at the detriment of the creature causes the creature to get pissed off. It's not you that are getting pissed off by somebody that is talking about your development. You're not actually getting pissed off. It's the part of your brain that is literally running rampant to your decisions, to the way you think. You don't actually hate the idea of going to the gym and lifting weights and developing yourself. Who would want to hate such a thing? Like, you developing your strength and developing your energy and developing your recovery, improving your sleep, being healthier, being a high performing man, obviously you would want that. However, if this creature is literally fully integrated in your brain, so you are actually the creature, you are obviously going to be repulsed by the idea of developing yourself. Do you know what I mean? And it's just about slowly snapping out of this. So, the result is catastrophic system failure of yourself, right? Like I mentioned before, but just to add a couple more on at the top of it, it's going to be constant injuries, reoccurring injuries, and looking like shit in the mirror. But it's not just about the thing, the current problem. It's also how the creature then goes about solving the problem. So instead of actually solving problems like somebody that wants these problems to go away full term, like long term, or going to the root cause of the problem and actually looking at it as an opportunity to develop themselves, they look for quick fix, exactly the same things that they would do with regards to food and decision making. They are going to do the same things in order to, in their eyes, strategize in counteracting this. So low energy is going to be energy drinks. Poor sleep is going to be sleeping tablets. Poor recovery is going to be medication or an ice bath. Poor levels of strength, probably going to be TRT or steroids. Injuries, probably going to be massage. Reoccurring injuries, surgery. Looking like shit in the mirror, wear more clothes. You see what I'm saying? It's like, because it's a belief, and because it's a belief, it's gonna affect how you work as a person, because it's your decision making. It's how you problem solve. It's also gonna affect how you solve problems with regards to family life. It's also gonna affect how you problem solve these issues that come of it. So you're constantly in a life of just up and down roller coaster ride of survival, because you're fully living like a creature, right? And this for me is the real brutal thing. It's the ripple effect. And as much as you like to kid yourself that your family aren't watching, I challenge you straight away to how you view others, right? So let's say in the workplace, you've got people that are stressed at work, and isn't it very interesting, just as you as a man, just to watch how they deal with that stress, how they problem solve when they are stressed? It's fascinating, right? And if you think for a second that your wife, your kids aren't watching and paying very close attention to how you solve problems and how you think in moments of stress, you are massively mistaken, right? Because you might be the most noble father, the most noble husband in the world, but if you are out of shape, and if you don't give a fuck about your health, and the decisions that you make are massively detrimental to your own health and keeping you in survival mode, drinking fizzy cans of pop, drinking alcohol, smoking, and you're basically saying to your kids and your wife that is completely normal as well. So what you say to the idea of developing yourself and growing as a man, the same counter arguments that you're justifying, they're also going to justify. And in the moment it might be funny. It's like, well, I've used that same excuse. I drink that same drink. I stay up till 2 a.m. My kid's obviously going to do the same. They're just copying you. And you might be doing all the right things. You might be doing the right things in work. You might be doing the right things nutritionally. But at the end of the day, this creature is not just affecting your life. It's affecting the lives of everybody around you. Because everybody is watching like hawks. And they're watching like hawks to how you solve problems when it matters most. That is when people learn the most. And so far, you're letting them down. So, how do we turn this around, right? And me saying these bullet points here, is probably going to repulse you if you are living in survival mode. Setting a personal goal is probably going to start to get the guilt emotions going. Because you're thinking, personal goal. And listen, I do this with my clients on my one-on-one program. And sometimes they venture off a personal goal because they're still integrated in the family life. It's like they've just had 2 kids. They've just been married. So they're still thinking, right, I want my kids to... No. Personal goal. Not family goal. That's different. Not professional goal. Not promotion. Not working overtime. None of that. Personal goal. It's something that not many men have actually done. And it's interesting to hear some of the lads say what emotions come up, just as an example of just as a response from them actually setting a personal goal, because it's something that not a lot of men have done for decades. And what I mean by personal goal, it could be anything. It could be lose 3 stone. It could be develop your aerobic fitness so you can run 10 miles without stopping. It could be squat, double your body weight. It could be squat your body weight. It could be get rid of a knee injury that's been bothering you for the past 20 years. It could be get rid of a lower back injury. All of these personal goals, because you getting rid of that knee injury is going to help you to be able to go on hikes with the family or do mountain biking again for the first time in years. A personal goal, something that you've been thinking about wanting to do yourself, has completely fell down the pecking order in your priority list as a man. And it's almost like you've surrendered that as your new reality. So it just ends up being the truth. And it's brutal to see. I've seen this so many times on the mats in jiu-jitsu. So, you write down your goal and you be as specific as possible about what you want to achieve in the next 12 months. Then I want you to actually take a few deep breaths and think about what it would actually feel like to have just achieved that goal, that personal goal. Then you need to ask yourself, what character traits did you need to have in order to achieve that goal? You've just achieved it. You're now thinking and living and breathing as if you've just achieved that goal. It's actually very hard to do if you're a beginner at this. I'm actually quite a beginner at this. It's actually quite hard to get yourself into the zone because your brain just wants to fire off into different directions. So to focus on something that you've just written down, really difficult to do, but just bear with it. It only takes a couple of minutes. Character traits. List the character traits, about 5 of the most important ones. And then write down the physical habits in which you need to do every single day to get you towards that goal. Because you know the tactics. You've got YouTube, millions of videos. You've got AI nowadays. You can search something into AI and you can get the tactics. You know the tactics. The problem is your inadherence to stick to the tactics for long enough to get to that physical personal goal. Also, the second problem, probably arguably the most potent and powerful, is that you can't snap out of the creature mindset. So, another one for the 2.0 mindset, the physical habits to get there. Another one I'm going to give you for free. How does this man that's achieved the goal handle adversity in the day? And just list 3 to 5. Because that is the 2.0 having a battle with the creature. And this is a 24-hour battle, right? When you live like this elite mindseted man, the voices of the creature never go away. But the only thing that happens is you see the benefits of thinking this way, and the creature's voice gets quieter and quieter and quieter. He's still there yapping. He's still yapping away, right? But you get to a point where you have felt so much benefit from the elite mindset that you can literally just smile at the creature because it's there to keep you alive. It is not there to keep you thriving. It actually is repulsed by the idea of you going through some uncomfortable times in order to develop yourself. It's repulsed, genuinely repulsed. Live like 24 hours, like the elite mindset, and the creature's voice will get quieter and quieter and quieter. So, like I touched on earlier on, my priority with the guys on the program is getting their character aligned with the 2.0 version of themselves. The mindset, the habits, the personal standards are all part of that. But the first thing is character and mindset. The first phase of my program is personal standards, right? The tactics slot in. The personal standards, most people's problems, it doesn't matter if you're in the corporate world, it doesn't matter if you're injured, it doesn't matter if you've got 7 kids. The most common problem, and generally the reason for every problem that you've ever had in your physical endeavours, or any problem that you've got physically, the reason that happened is because this has been reduced. And this has been reduced because 20 different reasons. But the reality of the situation is this needs to be massively increased. Right? And what I want you to think about as well, say if I just give you some personal standards to live by and some tactics, you jumped on my program, you had a training session, you had some training sessions, you ate this food, but you still lived and breathed like a creature. Yeah, you'd get results for a few months, you'd get results, you'd feel great, happy days, but you're still like a creature that is getting these results. So then without the personal standards and the tactics, you still believe you're the creature. So that's why people snap back to a previous version of themselves, because they didn't do this bit. And there's not many coaches on YouTube that are talking about this so potently, so commonly. I am here, so subscribe to the channel if you enjoy this stuff. Because the reality of the situation is, without addressing the mindset first, slotting the tactics don't make a difference. Unless you believe you are an elite man, and I'm sure this takes work. It does take work. It doesn't just happen overnight. It's a process, but the tactics don't make a difference. And you might have been on many physical endeavours. You know, there's a lot of blokes that, for some reason, it's like a midlife thing, midlife crisis. They might go on like endurance missions. They like, oh, well, I'm going to try and do a half marathon, and then it turns into a marathon. It's like a typical man thing when you're a bit lazy, and it's like, right, slap my hands together. Right, this is the year I'm going to do my first half marathon. It's like you're still a creature that is now eating a little bit different and running. When you stop with your half marathon training, you stop doing the program, you go back. You go backwards. It's because you didn't do this character alignment and you didn't touch on any of the mindset. Like I say, this is how I do things with the blokes on my program. But for you that aren't on my program, you have a choice, right? You either keep living like the creature, always neglecting yourself, always justifying being a noble man, being a noble family man, and constantly living victim to other people's personal standards. However you want to do it, however you want to justify it. You know, the reality of the situation is you are now a living, breathing, picture perfect version of your personal standards. You might be a great dad, you might be a great family man in your eyes, but at the end of the day, this is what is evident to see. Really low personal standards, and you're hoping that nobody's paying attention to your actions. The elite mindset, never neglecting yourself, always having high personal standards, high self-respect, high confidence, high optimism, and developing others with your own positive actions, not words. So that's the choice. You either choose to live like this in survival mode, or you choose to live like this in thriving mode. And it's hard to do, right? But it's doable. It is doable. You just need to go back through this video and look at the questions that I've told you to answer. Remember, the personal goal for the next 12 months. Don't make the personal goal a family goal or a work goal. Make it a personal goal. And then go through it. Character traits, habits, all the rest of it. Just rewind this video. Gentlemen, hopefully you appreciate the video. Like I said earlier on, I actually integrate this into people's lives. Those men that come onto my program. The link's in the description if you are interested. If not, I will see your lovely faces tomorrow.